I'm going to make a hand scissor cut guide all along the top of her body. And we're going to use her head as the base for the guide. But because her head goes down, we want to make sure that her hand's in the same position that her head is tilted so that it looks like it's grown out naturally that way. And then we're going to take this section right here. You may have to occasionally just brush it so it's nice and soft. Lift up this little section here. And we are going to match it to the guide that's in front, which is right here. I'm going to just go down the whole back the same way, using the same guide from the head and the neck. So we're just basically taking off all the fluff at the end that's going to be molting or coming off anyway, except for it makes a lot less work for the owner in brushing them. They don't have to brush through all that long hair. I'm just evening it out. And keep going back along her back. I'm going to the guide. So if you see how it just lays very naturally, and it looks just like it has grown out that way. I'm going to continue that all the way to her tail. And that's going to be your guide for the rest of her body. The trick is curving your hand as you pull it out to the shape of her body. So I'm going to give you an example. If we're going down the side here, her body is sloping down. Therefore, I want to pull the hair out, straight out from her body, and cut the hair to the guide length. So when it falls, it looks very natural, like that's how it grew out. That's why I call it a puppy cut. Show you something. She's been molting for a couple months now, and underneath here she doesn't have the same long hair. It's a lot shorter than it was up here on top. And so what we're going to do is we're going to match that so that we don't cut too much off. We're going to brush that out. The slicker I'm using is a really nice long bladed slicker. You want to be very careful that you don't brush burn them with that. But so now we have it matching the length of the hair that's already pretty much molted. We'll trim this just a little bit. One thing that's really important when you're giving them a puppy cut is that you don't want to give them a cut that goes up with their stomach, because that ends up looking like a poodle. You want it to look like a teddy bear, where it's all one length. So this is where you would take the hair, this has not been cut yet, this has, and you would just trim it a little bit at the bottom, and you're going to leave this back hair the same length as the front. so there's no arch. And so then I will use this right here, this long hair underneath, as my guide when I'm cutting here, so I don't accidentally make an arch in her stomach. This is where you actually almost want to pull up. You want to use the longest part of the part that's below. You don't want to cut any shorter than that. And then you cut the length back right in this section. So see, I was able to keep the length down here. And now I can kind of work on this part here to match the guide cut that I made in the middle. Can you stand for us one more time, Clover? Good girl. So we have a nice straight cut there, but it looks real natural. On her hip, same concept as her head. You kind of want to go with the shape of her hip, how it's curving down. You want to make sure that you're pulling straight out from her actual body. And the reason why it's kind of nice, especially with younger puppies, to be holding the hair is when they do move. If you noticed, I was able to hold the hair and still cut. We're going to use the teddy bear foot cut as a guide because you do not want to cut this hair short. We're going to use this length as a guide, but we want to make sure that we're cutting it out straight, not short like what's at her toes. So I'm actually kind of eyeballing it right now, but because the look of the Australian Labradoodle is to have the nice fluffy feet that look like teddy bears. And there you have it. Anywhere you're cutting, you want to make sure you're pulling the hair out from where the hair is growing from to cut. Otherwise, you're going to have a very uneven dog. On her knee, I'm actually shortening it just a little bit so that it's more of a straight leg. Just want to be really careful in this area because it can end up making a U real quick. And then the same thing, pulling this kind of towards the back, using the guide. Elbow. I'm just doing a straight cut instead of going zigzagging in with her leg so that it has a nice full leg cut. And we'll do the same thing on the front. So you'll have the same look.